today, this car gets these. I should clarify, I'm not going to change the front. They're not the biggest rotors, but they are vented, and I haven't had an issue with them yet. So these have to replace the stock drum brake. I also have new flex lines for the front and the back, just because these are looking a bit dry rotted, and that's not a good thing to see in a brake line. The way that I'm going to do the conversion is with this kit, Foxbody Brakes, which hopefully will do the trick. Got some brackets, got some calipers, got some rotors, got some stainless steel lines, and a bunch of hardware. Right off the bat, I think because the Cougar has a wider axle standoff than a Mustang, I'm going to need different spacers for the rear brackets to push them out more, and longer bolts to go with those. Other than that, hopefully it'll be fine. These are, I believe, stock SN95 rotors that have been re-drilled to 4-lug to fit this car. Supposedly, I might not need to change my brake booster to get the brake bias right. It'll just work right out of the box. Personally, I doubt that, and I'm kind of expecting to have to either switch to a Carbon Master or put in a proportioning valve, something so that the brake bias doesn't lock the rears before the fronts. The first step in putting new rotors on is to get the old stuff off. I'm actually surprised that's moving. I wasn't expecting it to come off. That's why I brought this, but maybe I won't need to use it. There we go, problem solved. Same thing on the other side. While I'm in here, a couple other points of interest. This is the Quadra-Shock. Find it on Mustangs, other Fox chassis cars of the same year. And that was pretty much there to dampen axle hop. This is the strut which I need to replace because it's barely doing anything, and you can tell because of how shiny it is. That means it's leaking something. That'll be a future job. Okay. Well, didn't quite all go in the bucket. When I pop the cover off, it, you know, I think it is.
I don't need all that, but.
I think I do. I think I'm glad you gave me this much.
I'm gonna take this paper towel off and get it under there.
Yeah. I'm gonna get the other section before it spreads.
Okay.
Sorry. The cover, you know, takes a bit of force to get off.
And then it's off.
And then it's off, and it kind of flew sideways on me. So.
It's on, it's on, it's on, it's on, it's off.
Yep. Okay. Got the bolt out, and the pin is dropping out the bottom now. Here's a pin. The thing that's tricky about this is that diagram is for non-track lock. So when you have a track lock, there's a big spring in the metal for the clutch packs.
Oh, so you can't get to it, or?
Well, also I really, it would help a lot to be able to turn the axle, because the opening that I need to work in is facing kind of up. Great, stop. Okay, I think I can get the clip out from there. It's this one. That'll do it. Actually, can you give me that magnetic pickup? Thank you. Well, that's the size we need. And it worked. However, the line nut is stuck on the line, and so it's twisting the line when I turn the nut. This is on or not. I feel it is, but I can't see. Light is in my eyes. Can you do a favor while you're there? Tug gently on the axle. The rotor's gonna be loose. You have to reach behind it.
You got
Oh,
the pin?
now it's really in. Okay, thank you. Pull. Good. Leave it there. Pull and leave it.
Okay.
Okay. I think we're actually good for spacers.
You don't need spacers?
I think we have the spacers, and you don't need them on a Mustang, maybe. Because they gave us, you saw the spacers. They were short, but they're there.
So that's 2.5 inches
Okay.
from what you're bolted to here to this face. That's 2.5 inches,
What am I both on here? Oh, yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And so this brake system is your car with 2.5-inch axle standoff.
I guess I'll write, if this works, I'll write them and say, hey, I put these on an 88 Cougar XR7 with this axle. You can advertise that now because it works. Yeah, that's a good fit. So it turns out getting the pads to go into the calipers is not easy. These are SM95 Mustang rear calipers. They fit the 8.8 axle. And what you gotta do, we've gotten one put together. This took me like half an hour. But the caliper, you get the pads. The pads already have this spring in them. They also come with these little clips. They're called pad abutments, and they go on the ends of the pads, about like that. Sometimes they don't fit super well, and you can kind of just push them on and then like pull back up to try to get this little piece to seat. That actually works pretty well. The tricky part is getting these little pad abutments into this slot while also compressing the spring that's down there. If you put both of them on and you try to put the pad in, they fall off. Inevitably one of them at least will fall off. What you do is you put the pad in here, you push it down to compress the spring, and you slide one pad abutment in. Then you take the end that's still exposed, the other pad abutment, clip it on, then you can push this down and slide it all in like that. See if I can get you a close up for this other one. Now this last one's tricky because the spring, instead of going here, it has to go here on this side of the detent. And oh, the other thing you gotta do is slide this whole unit down. You want to pop the boots off a little bit. Slide the whole thing down, maybe not that far. And you can push this other pad in, not too far, but you do want to move it in so you have more room to work, because it's really hard to get the second pad in when the first pad is in the way, which it still is. So let's see how far I can push it. About to there. Don't think it's going to go any further without coming loose. Take this, I'm going to do one side at a time because the other side's already popped off. Pad about where I want it to go. That side in. Angle this over. Try to get this pad abutment to seat. Push the whole thing down, pull it back. And pad abutment got a little bit angled and sort of fell off. Now it's really falling off. So try it again. Other side still in, springs are still where I want them to be. Go over to there, flip it back into place, which is there, but it's not going to hold. So I gotta. It's popped off once again, which is really not fun. But maybe I can. There we go. You just gotta jam it in. So sometimes brute force is the answer. You just have to be careful enough not to break things or bend the tabs. But now I have to get the retention springs in. That long tab is where you start. You put it down between the pads, and then we flip this over while that's still in there. So it'll come out the bottom right there. Sometimes you can kind of use a screwdriver in this slot here, pulling this up through to there. So now, almost there, the two wings are seated in the caliper body, and you just have to get this tab to click over here. Which means, once again, screwdriver, slide it back, and then go from this side and push that tab down to where you hear it click. And that'll mean that it's clicked just barely over this lip, and then you can muscle that back into place. There's so much space to swing a torque wrench. Not at all. Mounting the brake line to this kit is not the most scientific task. What they say is you're supposed to be able to bend this hard line 90 degrees, either towards the front or, in my case, would be towards the back, so that you can put this flex line from here around to the hard line. If I do what they prescribe, I will wind up with some tire clearance issues, because they have this little bracket that you're supposed to use to attach this flex line to the axle in this orientation. But if I do it like this, I can't get this hard line to connect to it. So if I scrap the bracket they provide and just say, okay, I need to make this fit the hard line with only a little bit of bending, because I don't have a lot of material to work with here and I don't have a lot of space to route it. I could route this flex line around the outside, but then it hits the wheel, because the wheel is a 15-inch, very small wheel. It fits pretty close to the caliper. I can mount it under, but then it's hanging down next to the road, and there's a bunch of debris and sticks and rocks and stuff. And it's also kind of in the way of the e-brake cable then, because that's supposed to go through here. So I have to route it around the inside, which scares me because now I have all of this stuff in the way, and the line can rub on the strut or the quadra shock or the bracket here, but that's all manageable, because at the very least, you know, I can put something over the line and kind of affix it so that it at least isn't vibrating against these components. Once you figured out where you're putting the line, which I'm putting mine something about like this, you have to figure out how to get this end of the flex line to connect to that end of the hard line. Now, I think what you're supposed to do is take a fancy pipe bender and, you know, carefully shape this hard line to exactly where you want it. But we have two pipe benders. One of them is too big to fit in here, and the other one is also probably too big, but that one's gone missing. I don't know where it is. So instead, I have a socket with a little indent in it, which is at the very least better than using your bare hands, which you can also do. I'm just gonna pretend that I know what I'm doing here. Twist this around towards the back just a little bit. That's about where the line's gonna sit for now. This is from the outside of the passenger side.